Welcome to TSP Weekly. This is your tech startup podcast for April the 14th, 2016. My name is Stephen Campbell, a local tech entrepreneur. With me today, as always, is my co-host, Amaris Gerson.
Or Coast, as I said yesterday, just to shorten it up.
I like that.
Good morning, Stephen.
How are you?
I'm awake.
It was like just 10 hours ago, it seems like we were meeting.
We had a meeting last night till about, 11:30.
Yeah, you were at the State of
the City address. Then I went to Sortable's Open House, a cool startup in
Local
town that's
company.
growing, yeah. And then I met up with Mike from the Accelerator Center, and I dragged you along, and you talked a lot.
Yeah, that was fun. Thanks very much for letting me be the third wheel on that. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
So joining us today, we have Antoine Boucher, and we have Mike Agar from BluePoint. They have a product called Kindera. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you?
Thank you. Very well.
Yeah, so today we're in the Communitech, the old Google space. We're up on the third floor again. Thanks for having us over.
You're welcome.
Tell me a little bit about BluePoint, guys. What are you guys doing here?
What we do is, so we're both parents, and we've had issues with our children at some point, and that's
Who hasn't? Who hasn't had issues with their
So
children?
they're off at military camp now?
Yeah. Yes, one at least. No, actually, and it's a bigger story, and I'm sure we'll have more time, but it's, we both used to work at RIM, and we're both engineers, and we were very, we were on the Playbook project.
Okay.
Right? Which meant that Mike and I had a lot of playbooks around. In fact, we both had stacks of playbooks at home, of course.
Yeah.
Because we wanted people to try.
Yeah, you want to
and
try
of
it,
course,
yeah.
me as a dad and an engineer, is like, free offer. Here, have a playbook.
Right.
And I made sure they were all charged and ready. Now, what I didn't realize is what they would do with it.
Yeah. Children will be children. Yeah.
Sure. Exactly.
And how old were your children at that time so we can understand what they would be looking at?
Yeah, so 7 and 9.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Getting into
Yeah.
awkward stuff. Yep.
Yeah, awkward.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
no
that's
longer
not-
Teletubbies.
No,
Yeah,
no,
those days
definitely
were
not.
over.
But it's what led to it, because of course they love YouTube. It's video.
And you in that YouTube
YouTube.
hole, they keep suggesting things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Again.
And perhaps they made a wrong decision at some point of, I like that better. I like this better. And so I saw them kind of giggling. They were actually under our kitchen table.
It's a
and
perfect spot
I picked under, and I was shocked. Right?
So they were looking at horrible stuff.
Yeah.
And
There's
that's
probably like a Toronto Maple Leafs hockey game or something. and
Right.
They were losing.
Probably.
yeah, we'll say that. I already know it's not that. I can just
Right.
sense.
And everything kind of flashed, right? Oh my gosh, I'm a bad dad. Oh my gosh, I've been using technology and in the wrong way. And so, of course, so all of that together is, I felt highly responsible in my household anyway. But it's a normal thing that, look, as you said, they're curious. It's fine to be curious. But I never thought about, hey, maybe I really need to be able to manage the access better.
Right.
Because the internet, they really, they will live with the internet. They were born with the internet, unlike me anyway. And there's great potential. And so that's sort of how the idea came about. And Mike had almost the same parallel situation.
Sure, my boys are a little older, but boys will be boys. And we have tech in our home. And I believe that it's a great advantage, to living in the 21st century. Growing up in the 21st century, our kids are going to have such a significantly different life than we have. So with that, I've always provided technology, as much as possible. And, with that comes, the dangers that go with, open access.
So those experiences led you to come up with what is that thing sitting in front of you?
Yeah, that's Kindera. But before that,
Oh,
of
okay.
course,
I'm sorry.
I never started to say, hey, I'm going to produce this. So I spent about 3 months. I spent 3 months trying everything that I knew on the market.
Right.
And nothing was working. And the reason why nothing was working is I really was looking for a tool. Not something that disabled the internet, but almost something that enabled the internet, right? A tool for me to be able to monitor, to make some judicious decision, at night, bedtime bedtime is very important, right? So you want the internet to be locked before then.
Yep.
Things like this. So everything came together, and I was talking to Mike, and we decided to think about how would a product look like. And the hardware, so this is Kindera,
Okay.
and it's basically a Wi-Fi hub with sophisticated parental control in it. For the techies, this is a firewall with a really good user interface, in a way, right? In a way. And so what was most important for us, so the tool is important, but also the ease of use and also the ease of installation. Because there's no way I wanted to spend more than a few minutes per day to be able to
Well, and the
manage it.
reality is you guys are techie, so you guys can do everything. But most parents either don't have the time or aren't as technical as their kids, and so that's kind of the fear, is that kids
You're right.
kids are smart. Kids are going to learn how to do stuff before parents do. So
Yes.
So how do you
I
protect
really
against
didn't have the time either, right? So you can do this in many routers today. There are firewall rules and access in the admin panels, and in one of the 17 tabs across the top, there'll be an option somewhere in your traditional off-the-shelf router to put on some limits. But managing that and working through that is a full-time job, and it could take you hours to set up, and then to change it when you had a reason to change it. Maybe you wanted to block YouTube for a week because they're grounded. Then that's a chore on you. You've got to go back into that configuration and change it, and then a week later undo all those changes and put it back to normal.
That sure is a chore on
You know,
you.
it-
Grounding a
it-
kid for a whole week from YouTube is a punishment for the whole family.
So there's that
actually
too.
is. It is.
So even techies can see the benefit of having simplicity added to
Yeah.
their lives. If you can take away just a little bit of those chores that we're all responsible for, it frees you up to do other things.
So we're enabling the parent then to not only sort of have some level of control, but just to monitor and see. So you can see where they've gone and see what they're looking at.
Yeah,
so you're able
absolutely.
to have discussions, and so it's not just
That's exactly.
authoritarian control and just closing it down and
the inspection
and punishment
is
stuff,
really the powerful part, the knowledge. So there's two things that happen there. One, once the kid knows that you're watching, their behavior changes. So they know that there's supervision in the environment, and they behave better. But two, you can supervise without tapping them on the shoulder or being overtly in their face. You want them to be able to explore and learn and grow without that constant over the shoulder sensation that mom's watching. So being able to supervise from remote in a different room, different location, when you're at work and the kids have got home from school, you can see what they're up to. That's really a game changer.
It's quite powerful.
I'm a little confused. Your kids don't think that mom's watching sometimes? Is that what I just got out of
They
that?
actually,
Because mom's watching
they,
all
they
the time,
do know.
isn't she?
They do know, but somehow they still do what they think they should be doing.
So I'm the only one at this table that doesn't have children. So my logic is I remember being a teenager, and I'm going to hate you for that. How does that handle in your household, that you're monitoring or you're...
Well,
I still remember throwing
no,
tantrums.
so-
I'm
so-
like, leave me alone.
Julie's
You're
mom
not a
doesn't
parent
have
yet,
that.
so you may not understand, but there is a certain degree of joy when you get that feedback saying, that's this is unfair. Because you know that you're doing the right thing in that moment. It's a teachable lesson. They have to experience these constraints and learn to know what limits are. So
I
there's
hear
a
you,
benefit
yeah.
to it. It can go too far. We can enable a parent to be absolutely authoritarian, but that's really a parenting style. It's a tool
Right.
that allows you to.
I'm just wondering
be-
how you guys have handled that discussion with your children in backlash. Do you have teenagers yet?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
So-
So how is that...
So on my side, I'm thinking about my daughter, the oldest. She's 16,
Okay.
and she actually appreciates Kindera.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, she appreciates Kindera. She's been with it on it for more than a year.
Right.
She appreciates Kindera. She loves to push the boundaries.
As a 16-year-old
Yeah,
girl
she
would,
loves
yeah.
to push the boundaries, and she's pretty good at it. She's
gonna
gone
get
very
better.
good.
17's
I'll give you
rough
an
year.
example.
She's your lead tester.
Yes. And she has a playbook, a tablet, and something smaller. So she has it all.
Yeah.
It just happened to be that way as well. So I caught her a few months ago sort of in the middle of our Kindera experiment early on. At night, 11:30 a.m. on a school night, p.m. on a school night. It was a little late, and she was in her bedroom, and she knows there's no devices in the bedroom. And despite that, it happens. Why? Because they're so small.
Yeah.
And Daddy,
What if she
I
misses
had
a
to
text?
do it. I had to do it. I just couldn't help myself. And here she was. She was actually watching a video, TED Talks, at 11:30 p.m.
Yeah.
So
you're
I'm
you
like,
gotta finish that video,
It's a
then
good-
go to sleep.
It's a good video, but it's the wrong time.
yes, it's too
Yeah.
late.
Yeah.
And so she, in her case, and maybe that's generational as well, she loves to know there's a boundary. And she will keep on using it until she sees a boundary. But obviously, this is meant more to set boundaries and being able to teach. Right?
This is for, you're kind of marketing, yes,
Yeah.
teenagers, and that's where you're thinking of
Yes.
teenagers are going to do that. But really for those younger kids that are,
teach
they just
them
need to know how to use the internet
Yes,
properly. Yeah,
exactly.
that makes sense.
Teach
Yep.
them how to use it properly,
Cool.
and eventually support them as they, grow older and move on.
I'm really excited about the idea that I can sort of sit in the background and understand what my boys are looking at,
Yeah.
and it gives me the opportunity to then subtly, on my time, have conversations with them about the content they're watching. So if they saw somebody, there's these videos in Russia of these guys climbing these huge towers with cameras. So it's not sexual or illegal, it's just dangerous. And you don't have that
It was all-
conversation about being a daredevil as a young 15-year-old male and that kind of stuff, right? So that's an
Yes.
important thing for me to know that he was just looking at that. And he's not in trouble, but
Yeah.
it gives me a great
Absolutely.
opportunity to engage
So
him
you know what
at
they
a
do,
great
so you
time.
can
Yeah, and that
so that's
works.
really,
Intelligent.
that's really powerful.
The idea is that it's for a rational parent.
Right, because
There's
it's not...
there's always extremes where there's going to be
Yeah,
someone who's
of
going to
course.
do ridiculous things.
As Mike said, you could go either way,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
exactly.
I'll give you another example. My boys are all into sports. They love hockey, and we had a lot of tournament lately.
Good Canadians.
Yeah. And my daughter, my oldest daughter, she convinced me like she can to stay behind at home for a day. And she's 16. There's no problem, right?
Right.
And she says to me, she says, Dad, I need to finish my homework. Well, that sounds okay. That sounds like
So
a
far,
good
so good.
reason, right? I'll do it.
I was a 16-year-old. I know that's not what she's
So and so halfway through the tournament, I decide to just casually look,
How's the homework coming along?
Right. And of course, if she's working, I see activities, right? So there's a lot of things. When my kids go back from school to home, I know it because suddenly there's activities on the network.
doing.
Right.
And so, and our UI is we believe very good to sort of see at a glance what's going on, and I see that for the past hour she was on Instagram.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
I don't want to believe it, but I do believe it.
yeah, as she should be doing her homework.
Maybe she's researching what the fashion trends
Yes,
are.
indeed.
Thank you, Mars. Yes.
So
How to do your nails.
Yep.
Or
Covering
how
up
to-
for 16-year-old girls worldwide.
I don't know what's on Instagram.
So I gave her a call. I said, I said, you are on Instagram and you should be working on your homework. She says, yes, Dad, I know. So I said, you only leave me one option, but is to disable Instagram for a wein
Oh, man.
Is she still talking to you?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I am so glad that I wasn't your child. Because I still have to teach my dad how to use a computer,
Yeah.
so that's great.
Yeah, and the one workaround, I just bought my son his second phone, so he could just go into data off my
Yes, he
Wi-Fi,
can.
right? So it isn't like a locked gate. It's
No.
just a tool that helps you
That's right.
understand
Right.
more and
That's
have more
right.
opportunity to engage with your kids.
And
I
of
like that.
course, this is our first version. It's
Right.
our first product. We intend to improve the tool
Good.
really for parents. But yeah, absolutely.
That's
So-
awesome.
Can we move on to BluePoint? Because this is Kindera.
Yes.
Your
but
product.
you are BluePoint.
Yes.
And what is BluePoint?
So BluePoint is the organization that makes Kindera, and we wanted to create some separation because our intent is to do a lot more than Kindera, even if we extend the product line. So BluePoint is a partnership between Mike and I.
Okay.
That
Which one of you is blue?
Oh, that was a long. I'm brown. So perhaps not me.
The other one becomes point then. So
Right.
Yeah. So Mike is blue today.
I'll take blue today. He can be point.
You could be pointed. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I like the teamwork.
You know what I can tell you, and for Mike and I, finding name is one of the most difficult tasks we've ever had. I could do this project, and it's when I see if someone tells me, okay, you need to do a product like this, okay, that's okay, cool, I could do it. If someone asks me, well, you got to find a name.
Yeah, because you got to research to make sure there's no one else doing that. We just had a conversation about
Naming Oak and
possible
Rumble.
Took and Rumble.
Toucan
So that's
Rumble.
right.
Oak
So
and
if,
Rumble makes more
so
sense.
you have to become very
Thinking in
very
the
creative in this case, and yes, domain names.com is very important. So that is very difficult.
Yep.
And when we hit our heads, or I did anyway, for 3 months on a brick wall to find a name
3
that
months
works.
to find a name.
Yeah,
That's
you're kind of
amazing.
like, all right. Maybe I make it more difficult, but that's sort of how it came about, and Kendera was sort of the same process in a way.
Right.
So it's a partnership between us, and with very focus early on anyway to really find good tools for parents. We're both parents, as you know, and I think that there's so many opportunities in that domain. And
How
that's
did
what
your
we
journey
created.
bring you to Communitech here?
We've been sort of associated from the get-go.
Okay.
They had some programs for startups. And
Were you part of? So you worked at RIM. Were you part of the RIM layoff?
I think we both were at some point, right?
Okay. Yeah,
Because they're not
restructuring.
done yet, even.
Yeah, no, there's more coming.
Yeah, so we were kind of in the span of the past 3, 4 years, 5 years. I left before Mike.
Okay.
I left in the middle, if you want.
Sure.
Mike left after me.
I just know that Communitech had services for the
Yeah.
Job Connect program that was for ex-RIM employees
Yes.
to help them get started in new spots. So I wondered if that is sort of how you got in.
Not necessarily. I was
Okay.
more at the tail end of that, and I don't think Mike did it.
Okay.
But that facilitated, I think, the introduction to Communitech and
Right.
say, hey, this is what we're doing. Would like to get some help. And they accepted us, and we went through their entrepreneurs sort of sessions, and then I got an email from one of the program manager on the Rev program and say, hey, would like you to, we know who you are, you've been doing good progress, would like you to apply. And that's how it actually came about.
Great.
Because we were connected before that. The program has been really great for us, right? Getting us out of our respective basements and garage.
The
and it's
basement,
yeah,
the
it's a little
startup
too cold.
basement.
Yeah,
Nice.
exactly. And it's literally.
Yeah.
Too
Fortunately,
cold in the garage in Canada, really.
Yeah, so Canada is really in the basement.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
probably why we
Yeah.
have basements. And
It's for startups. Basements are just there for startups, not for
Yeah.
storage of anything.
Yes. Just the
Not to get
skates and
below
the
the
hockey
frost
stick.
line or anything.
No,
That's
no,
right.
it's
This
just so you can start your
startup.
company.
Canadian startup.
and,
good, I like that.
and,
It's true.
and that's how we started. And so part of Kindera is actually quite complicated. There's a lot of technology that's in the box. There's a lot of technology outside the box on the cloud. And Mike and I started with the desire to categorize the internet, right? Because first step,
Yep.
we want to know what's good and what's bad in a way, or be able to categorize and make the decision. And that's when Mike and I really started early on, and Mike decided to create some pretty cool software that categorized the internet automatically. And I had some hardware. And
So is that you're the hardware guy and you're the software guy? Is that fair? Or you both do hardware and you can both do software, but
We're it's a team, so we
Yeah.
both do both.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
who's
But
better?
last time-
who's
but-
better at hardware?
Well, Antoine sourced the software or the hardware from China, so he knows.
Who's better at software?
Well, that would be me.
All right. I just wanted to make
You
sure
got
that there
'em.
was some sort of
You
competition.
broke them
there.
down.
last time I wrote a piece of code is about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's changed.
Now, yes, I do write some code, but in different languages and different things. But
Yes.
yeah. So Mike goes deep in the code and fixes. So we were fortunate enough. So we all started, like many startups, on a platform called Raspberry Pi. Have you
Yeah,
ever heard about that?
I have a Raspberry Pi.
There you go. And we have many too. But and we were running on Raspberry Pi last summer or before last summer now, right?
Before 2
Yeah,
years
before.
ago.
Yeah, 2 years
So
ago.
that the idea for Kindera started on a Raspberry Pi?
Yes.
Our first prototype was Raspberry Pi.
And unfortunately, it gave me false hopes.
Okay. Okay.
It was
too
working.
easy. Yep.
It was working well. Obviously, we
Ish.
did, yeah.
Well enough.
We had some
Proof of concept.
yeah, it was a great proof of concept. But me as being me, I'm saying, oh my gosh, we're going to commercialize that. And we're going to go.
Eh.
That's a
so-
great startup
Huh?
word is working-ish. That's a great
So
startup
working
word.
is, we're going.
It's
Yeah.
a good demo. It actually was. We
was
lived
great.
with it
Yeah.
live in our homes on the Pi for a long time until we brought up the new platform.
Yeah.
So we learned a lot on the Raspberry Pi. The UI was conceived and
Yeah.
polished on the Raspberry Pi.
The system was.
The performance of the network, of course, didn't meet what would be considered a consumer product. So,
Right.
So there were limitations that made it
Yeah,
bad.
that was the main limitation, and sort of when a few weeks later, when you think about it and say, okay, we'll have to source some real hardware
Yeah.
to be able to do that.
What was the first thing that you guys ran up against that was like, oh no, what are we gonna do now? Here's our first real problem.
Yes. Well, we had that.
Yeah, so the Raspberry Pi was a proof of concept. It worked well, but it was at that point a transparent proxy. So it had Squid inside and was inspecting each packet and doing things that were typical of the day, right? So this is not a new problem. People have tackled this, attacked it before,
Yep.
and this was the way you would do it. You'd run everything through a proxy and look at the packets and the traffic and find out if it was good or bad.
Obviously. right,
Obviously,
Russ?
Yeah,
So,
obvi-
so that,
yeah,
that's
of
great.
course.
You have a squid
Sorry,
in your
maybe that's
Raspberry
too
Pi, right?
technical.
No,
so
I understood several words in that sentence.
SSL
I
comes
know what the
along
squid is.
and HTTPS becomes the norm, and sites start getting punished for being non-encrypted in the Google search rankings.
Yep.
There's a strong push to start encrypting all internet traffic, and when you do that, your transparent proxies lose visibility. All they see is an encrypted stream, and you can't inspect the content anymore.
Okay.
We need a new solution, and that's really the moment that the bit flipped, and we came up with a better design that attacks the problem without intercepting the data. And lots of good things come from making that change. One, you can properly filter HTTPS traffic without breaking the encryption, so there's no man in the middle there. I'm not looking at your banking records as they go by, none of that. But in addition to that, we're also out of the stream. So the latency and the slowdowns that were inherent in the old designs are not there today.
So that's hugely important for me with a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old boy and a Yoda shirt myself. I'm
Yep.
a gamer. So we have 3-4 computers plus a PlayStation. They're always on. They're all streaming.
Yep.
The wife's on Netflix. So if there was any
Delay or
yeah,
performance
we'd be
hit, people throw the
Immediately.
product out. So
Yeah.
there's a great advantage in redoing the design and accounting for the more modern age, and that really is one of the key benefits. In addition, we're an 802.11 AC router, which is the newer standard for Wi-Fi. It's 866 megabits per second over the air. So you're getting near cable speeds if you have the right gear in your home. And it's tremendously important, especially with 4K streaming coming on. Your Netflix streams and various other sources of content are going to be fatter, and your Wi-Fi needs to be performant. So
How terrifying
all of that.
is it as a hardware company to have such a fast progress of technology where you have to sort of develop it, test it, and jump into the stream and hope
Yeah.
that something new doesn't come along and all of a sudden
I kind of like it.
Yeah,
you like
can-
that?
Yeah.
It's terrifying, isn't it?
but
Or is
we-
it
there's
exhilarating?
no
Oh,
other
it
ways.
exhilarates me.
Yeah.
I'm
You got to
all
stay
in.
on top of things. You got to do a lot of research.
There's really no other ways, and so we don't really stop and saying, "Oh my gosh, look at what we've created!" Right?
Right.
So we're like, "Go, go, go," and when we did the hardware, it was the same, and we sort of hit some delays, of course, for some of the decisions we made, good and bad.
Yeah.
So finding a hardware platform was challenging, but not impossible. So we're trying to migrate away from the Raspberry Pi. And the good news is, if you look at Asia, many companies are trying to do routers and Wi-Fi hubs. But one of the problem is they all stuck in about a 10-year-old technology because that's how it was, right?
Well, yeah, and that's the reality with hardware companies is that
Yeah.
you start on one thing, you focus so hard on that, you don't realize that everything else is being developed outside of that. Like everyone else is got something newer, and you're just focused on your own product.
Yeah.
And that's I mean, we can talk about that in a local company where you both worked, that was a struggle that they focused on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Very subtle.
yeah,
You don't develop quick enough. You focus on your own thing. You
I
don't
know.
realize that everyone's moving
I
quicker
know.
than you.
I know.
Yeah, it was it's a sore topic. I know.
And you know, so we are self-funded with a hardware company that even adds more challenge around it.
Yeah.
Which means that, hey, are we talking to the tier 1 companies to sort of manufacture a product? Well, I could twist some arms of friends that I used to have on this previous company, but at the end of the day, it doesn't make business sense for either of us, right?
Right.
So I found this company that was willing to do what we needed to do and modified sort of the platform. And one of the challenge which actually stayed with us, and it seems like we're going to stick with the decision, is so early on, I wanted to be able to control costs. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Right? Control costs. Not go really down to the bare minimum, but really control cost. And we had to make a decision on sort of the architecture. Do we want to have a more North America chip sort of architecture, which would be 4 times the price?
Right.
Or are we okay with Chinese architecture?
Yeah.
And we decided on the Chinese architecture. What we didn't realize is the documentation were in Chinese as well.
Oh. So
That's
which one of you can read Chinese?
Or is learning.
So
It's on my to-do
yeah,
list.
it's on the to-do list.
It's a really easy language.
And
don't worry.
Antoine can watch your stream and see if you're working on that or not.
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
true.
Yeah, that's basically it. And so that created some additional challenge that sort of made it a little bit more difficult. But fortunately, Mike has gained a tremendous knowledge on the specific architecture, and we're capable of navigating around.
So he's
around it.
rewriting the documentation. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or straight in the code, I think. Really low-level code at this point.
Okay.
Right? Where he says, well, that makes no sense. And so rewriting it, that's okay, right? They're good at doing hardware, maybe not so at software.
And he's good at code.
Yeah. So that's the perfect marriage. But which meant that we, like many startups, right, we launched a little later than we expected.
Yeah,
but at least we launched. So we
So
launched.
you are launched.
Yeah, we
Okay.
launched. So officially we launched just before Christmas, which was the worst time to do it.
Yeah, because people just have extra money then.
Yeah.
Yeah, they love to throw money around at that time.
Mindspace. But
Yeah.
after Christmas is not that bad, because what happens is they gave devices, laptops, tablets.
Yeah, everyone
all
got
sorts of
something new.
iPods,
Right.
And a lot of them have been in some interesting situation. Oh my gosh, what have I created, right? Basically
Yeah,
where I
that's-
was with my playbook. And so we launched officially early January, and right now we're selling exclusively on our website.
Okay.
And of course, as a good startup that's self-financed, we have some steps we really want to accomplish and not have to jump. And proving the technology works well and people want it, and proving our marketing was very important, and we're just about done that.
Did you guys think about a sort of online funding campaign, Indiegogo or Kickstarter
Yes,
or anything
we
like
did.
that? Did you do one?
Oh,
or just
Kickstarter.
consider
So
it?
when we were building our product, and at that moment where the cash would have been helpful and the marketing and all of that, Kickstarter was also in the middle of a small firestorm. I'm not sure if you're up on the Kickstarters. One of them was a Tor router,
Okay.
which was a Chinese-sourced platform.
The Onion router?
I'm sorry?
The Onion router?
Yes, the Onion router. Yep. Where someone
just
was
to prove
putting
that you're on it?
Tor
In case anybody
on
what's
a
Tor
router
router?
and sell it through Kickstarter. And when that was launched, they quickly made their goal. And then the persons whose open source software was being deployed on that Kickstarter platform started to complain, and there was a huge backlash, and they actually had to yank the Kickstarter. And at that moment, they refunded all the sponsors. The Tor router Kickstarter became basically a new rule for Kickstarter, is that something has to be more original than just assembling parts.
Interesting.
So that right then and there, when we were considering it, Kickstarter was changing the rules, and there was a prime example of someone saying,
Yeah.
no, you can't do
We weren't
this.
at the right time in a way.
Yeah.
But thinking
They've relaxed the rules
we-
since, and there's been numerous
Yeah.
products just like ours, or similar in structure.
Because yours is
that have
special.
been- Ours,
Well,
well,
of course,
it's
it's
not ju-
special.
Yes.
It's unique, in fact.
Yeah.
It's, but in addition, and again, that's part of the startup mentality, right? You don't want to add anything that will delay. And so we really considered it, and maybe in hindsight, I'll tell you, but we were okay financially to sort of start it up and even get some inventory, and we sort of agreed. What we underestimated in a way is marketing,
Yeah.
right? And the amount of money really to be able to get you very effective marketing.
I think that's a common thing that a lot of
Yeah.
startups we're talking about are tech startups, and so
Yeah.
you do
Exactly,
hardware and you
exactly.
do
Yeah.
software and
Right.
hardware.
And then-
You're not marketers. You're
That's
not
right.
sales guys. You
You're
don't know
right.
that stuff.
And in fact,
yeah, that's undervalued.
And in fact, even Communitech has limited experience on consumer marketing, because that's really what we're trying to do,
Right.
right? And so, and when I was working with Communitech, I said, my marketing is very simple. We want to sell so many in so many weeks. As a good engineer, you work it.
I'm not sure
Fair.
that's marketing.
I know. I know.
that was spreadsheet
Yeah,
marketing.
but I
They
get
could've
that.
told
Imagine
me that.
something
They
in
could've
Excel
told me
spreadsheet.
that.
say,
Done. Marketing.
So
World War III.
I'm like, this is how much, this is what the conversion will be.
And go.
This is how many eyeballs we need. And I said, I'm going to spend 12 grand on Facebook, right?
right.
And I did spend some money, but thank God, not close to 12 grand to prove my assumption. And my assumption was slightly off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
likes don't equal dollars.
No, and it's becoming worse and worse, I think, right?
Yeah.
Because as Facebook users, you're like, oh, another ad, and you kind of sometimes feel angry
Yeah.
about having an ad put in your stream. But so these are sort of the tribulation in what you learn. So
Mike,
right
can't you
now,
filter those ads out somehow with Kindera as I'm watching?
Well,
Can't we do something
you
with the
could.
software?
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
kind of the other way.
Yeah,
You
we,
could.
we do
We'll talk
have
later.
an
Yeah,
ad
we do.
category there where you just block all online
All
ads,
ads.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or
we
just
do.
the adult ad networks as well.
Those
Yeah,
aren't as
those
bad.
sorts of
It's
things,
the
but yeah.
it's the other stuff that bothers
Really?
me.
I was when I was looking at torrents, I was getting a lot of like Russian bride ads.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the prime. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Lot
I'm
of
like, really? Do I
young
see
Russian men
does
there
my
that you're-
internet history suggest I want a Russian bride?
Maybe there's things you don't know about.
No, I'm sure that I'm not going to those
I
sites.
think you take more South American.
I'm not gonna dignify that with a response.
So being self-financed, I think, was very important for us.
Yeah.
Especially in
You
the
can
phase
control
we
it,
were.
yeah.
About that. Right now we need more money, and we know it. Right, we need more money to go sales and marketing, and
Yeah.
we are actively pursuing, and we've been for a while, sort of 3 avenues to really get us to where we need to
So
be.
those avenues, do you mean grants, or do you mean venture capitalist funding?
Yeah, there's multiple things.
Okay.
Of course, the first one is the 1 + 1 = more than 2. So joining with someone that's interested in us,
Right.
that we bring some unique value, and knowing for us that we keep our value in what we've started. The second one is working with companies that have already better established marketing distribution or sales distribution. I
Yep.
think there's a lot of names that come, and being able to license perhaps our unique technology.
Right.
Right, so that's also very acceptable for us. In this case, that gets me out to, and Mike out to work around the clock with China to make sure that all is done well and we have enough inventory and things like this, right? So it basically focuses back on what we're really good at, and of course there's pure venture.
Yeah.
Venture money to be able to get us to the next
You
phase.
sound really
right?
excited about that last one.
Well, there's things you have to give up with all of those examples, right? That
Yeah.
there's pros and cons to
Everything.
Right.
both. You're losing some control
Yes.
with all of those options.
Yes.
And that this is your company, so there's probably an element that you really want to control.
Yes. That's the biggest really
But
headache.
you're
your
good
baby.
at hardware and you're good at software and hardware. So perhaps there's someone else who's good at
something else.
something else.
Yeah. We're working
But that's
on
hard.
it.
It's that control thing. And I think that's a common problem for a lot of startups is that
Pretty
doing
much
that transition.
If you're a
But
tech
that's
startup, and you're a founder of a tech startup, you're taking your best skill set, the things you've honed over years,
Yep.
and become exceptionally good at, and deciding not to do that anymore, and and decide that you know what I need to do, learn sales and marketing and all the things that
I don't
have
like to
no
do.
business doing whatsoever is now my responsibility, and you chase something that you've no training for, no experience, and you try and reinvent the wheel and learn on the
We've
fly.
talked to some companies in Velocity. I think I'm specifically thinking of Code Connect from Josh from Code Connect, and he's like, "Well, I learned software. Might as well learn how to sell."
Yeah.
which honestly, which is all right, right?
Yeah.
Which is all right, but it's for you to expect the how effective you will be.
Right.
Right. So I've been doing product for most of my life, same as Mike. We're good at it.
Yeah.
We know what to do. We know we know how to make it easy. Sales and marketing really has been a journey of less than a year, but maybe it's an opportunity in how you really
exactly.
see. Right, helping. Maybe startups don't really need to think about themselves as one independent unit with everything around it. Perhaps there's an opportunity for organization to really put people better together, right?
Yeah, well-
to create more value at the end.
We're in Communitech. That's a lot of what they don't necessarily market themselves as doing that, but because it's such a community,
Yeah.
that ends up happening.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
opportunity.
And honestly,
Yeah.
one advantage of us being really closely associated with Communitech is the contact,
Yeah.
because it's the hub, right?
Yeah.
So it's truly a hub where people come together and
always something going on.
discover. Oh, you're doing this. I know someone who's going to be
Well,
really.
and that's Communitech, but that's also this area. The
Yeah.
Waterloo region
Yes.
is all about that. So there's so
Honestly,
much tech, and there's so many ex-RIM employees that the salespeople, and so many companies starting up that there are people everywhere, and we're such a tight community.
RIM post RIM has been really well, really
Yeah.
good for us. I in fact, jokingly, I call that the RIM Mafia network. It's true. It's
I
true.
understand that.
Yeah.
I work.
And you work there now. You work there
Yeah,
now. And we really help all each other. It's kind of interesting because when you work for a big company, you don't always see eye to eye.
Right.
Right? There's some friction. You come with your own background and you try
There's
to do what's
politics
best.
in there, yeah.
Yes, and
Absolutely.
sometimes there's friction. And in fact, one of our early person that helped us, him and I had friction before, but outside of RIM, we truly appreciate each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And now we become best friends and help each other. And that's so I find that amazing. And RIM is really, I think, was uniquely positioned to really create that, right? I found Mac back and other people in different positions that help us throughout our journey, right?
Well, I think that's common in a lot of big companies that have downsized. I'm thinking of Nortel. That's what happened.
Exactly.
RIM benefited from that, from those
Yes.
sorts of relationships, and now the rest of this city has benefited from the downsizing of RIM. Is that a lot of those people? I work out of RIM 5. Magnet
Oh, yeah.
Forensics is in RIM 5.
Yeah.
And we have our CEO is a former RIM guy, and then everyone else. Oh, I used to work there. I used to train there. Like that's how this community
know,
works. So
I
that
know.
everyone has an experience that was somehow touched by their time at RIM.
Yeah. And honestly, it's been my best time.
Yeah.
And
you learned a lot, and
Oh
and
my
now
gosh.
you're doing something completely different, but also the same.
Yeah, in a
So
way.
that's great,
In
yeah.
a way. And the area for us, when you think about it, is great. We have, for a consumer play, we have access to the Toronto, the GTA,
Yep.
right? And you're not in because I can't stand the traffic. So it's the best. Never mind the construction here, but
Yeah.
still,
We're getting
it will
there.
come.
Yeah.
It will come to
Yeah,
an end
soon.
at some point, right?
Yeah.
Really, when you think about it, geographically is great. I think the environment that RIM and others have created is great, and the fact that Communitech was willing to help us, I think it was a really great combination for us.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Mike and Antoine, thanks very much for joining us today. As we wrap up, how can we follow your journey and follow your story? The
Or if
website?
someone would like to buy all that
Yes.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
website?
the website is kindera.com.
Okay.
Do you guys have Twitter accounts or you
Yeah.
got tweeters at all?
So Kindera_dad is the
Amazing.
the Kindera Dad Twitter account. We
Yep.
do a parent-themed tweet stream on that.
Okay.
And from there you can find us. We're
And yeah,
we're
you've
on
got a
Twitter.
Twitter
Facebook
anyway.
account.
Yes,
We have
exactly.
Facebook,
Yeah.
And once you go on kindera.com, you'll find all
Perfect.
all the other places we are on and,
Yep.
and being
Great.
able to follow us. But so we're very excited, and every day we wake up, there's a new challenge to overcome, and but
Excellent.
it's an incredible journey.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Who do we have next week,
We
Amaris?
have Laura and Beth from Drafting Space, but now from Build Direct because they were acquired. They were a Velocity company out of as Drafting Space, and then they got acquired by Build Direct. So we're going to talk to them about that experience and that journey. They've been on the podcast before.
Yeah,
Be
looking
good.
forward to it. Darren and I spoke
Yeah.
to him a while
Yeah.
ago. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, that's it for another episode of TSP Weekly, your tech startup podcast. For myself, Stephen Campbell, my co-host Amaris Gerson, and Antoine Boucher, and Mike Agar, thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you all next week.